Hey, I'm Dustin, and this is my brother-in-law, Anthony. Since 2014, Anthony has been facing an uphill battle with MS, also known as multiple sclerosis. When I first met Anthony, he was a 20-year-old contractor dating my wife's little sister, Jocelyn. He moved in with us after we bought our first home to help us cover the mortgage, but unlike most tenants, he helped us build our deck, our fence, insulate our garage, and take care of general maintenance and handyman things, which was unbelievably helpful considering my toolbox looks like it came from Toys R Us. If you know Anthony, that story doesn't surprise you. Anthony's always helping nonstop. He's always the first to volunteer when something needs to be done. Anthony loved working with his hands and being outside. It was easy to see that he would have had a full and successful career as a carpenter. But in 2014, he started experiencing numbness in his limbs to the point where he couldn't feel or use his hands. After months of sitting on pins and needles, he was diagnosed with MS, a degenerative nervous system disease that affects the body motor functions. MS currently has no known cure, and people with MS live with the reality that every day gets a little worse. Their autonomy is stripped little by little every day, week, month, and year. The diagnosis ended Anthony's ability to pursue his chosen profession of working outside with his hands because sun exposure causes flare-ups for people with MS. This was the first thing MS took from Anthony. Despite that, he continued to spend his free time road biking, hiking, playing sports, but those too have been reduced in length and intensity to help him manage his symptoms, something incredibly difficult for a person with a competitive spirit. Today, Anthony has started the painful process of removing certain activities from his life altogether. As the disease progresses, it inflicts pain to the point where walking or movement become impossible. MS is an incurable disease that slowly and incrementally robs you of your hobbies, passions, career, and eventually your life. But it starts long before others are able to notice. The reality is that MS patients live in silent desperation and mental torture as they try to understand what's next while also grieving what they've already lost. Watching my brother quietly grapple with this reality has often made me and everyone who loves Anthony feel helpless. Depression is an invisible and rarely discussed side effect of MS. And although I know Anthony and Joss are forced to fight that demon daily, it would be the last thing you would ever guess a guy like Anthony is struggling with. That's because Anthony and Joss are doers. They're business owners, they contribute to their community, they're active and influential in the MS community, and they're always smiling. They do everything one could possibly do to fight the mental challenges faced by someone suffering from MS. But the realities of MS are inescapable. This horrible disease consumes your life, and it often begins without any outside indication of the damage it's inflicting. But 9 years in, things have been progressing. Anthony has experienced a significant decline in his health since 2021 and has had to adjust to a new reality where days no longer pass by without him experiencing symptoms. Eventually, Anthony will be confined to a wheelchair, and this disease will start to kill the muscles that enable his lungs to work. In 2014, Anthony started an oral disease-modifying therapy called Tecfidera. Unfortunately, this therapy stopped working for him in 2020, so he switched to Ocrevus, an intravenous infusion given every 6 months. While this has been helpful in slowing down the progression of MS, it does not help with Anthony's chronic pain, mental fog, fatigue, muscle spasms, and balance issues. Anthony and Jocelyn are committed to doing whatever it takes to slow and hopefully stop the progression of this disease. In their research, they found Hematopoietic Stem Cell Transplantation, also known as HSCT, and we believe that this is the treatment that gives Anthony the best chance at fighting his condition. HSCT has its own risks, but studies have shown that it significantly slows or halts the progression of MS over a 10-year study and helps to recover the neurological functions that are lost. 2013 has been Anthony's worst year for symptoms so far. Also, the window for this treatment being a viable option for him is shrinking. Because of this, him and Joss have decided to pursue HSCT treatment in Mexico at the end of this year, where he and Joss have found an affordable and available clinic that considers him eligible for treatment in his current state of health. The total amount needed to cover the related expenses is $100,000, of which they've already worked hard to secure 40%. The remaining amount would be used to cover treatment and life expenses while they're in Mexico. Anthony is a fighter, and he wants to do everything he can to live a fulfilling life despite his MS diagnosis, but this is too big for him to do on his own. Now it's our turn to help the guy that never stops helping others. Anthony is a true inspiration to me. This treatment offers him the best chance at a full life, allowing him to continue being the selfless and giving person we all know him to be. He truly deserves it. I hope you agree and will give generously.